James Mcgurl.
Yes.
What's going on, brother?
Chilling hard.
It's nice to be here in the shop today.
Yeah. It's a nice day.
It's a lovely atmosphere in here.
Yeah, it's people love it when I like when people come in, they'll comment on that. They'll be like, "Wow, it's so,
Feel the energy.
cool in here," or like, reminds me of a shop down at the beach or down at, some island or something. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That we have that kind of like, just unique, different type of style
Yeah.
or something you'd have to like go out of town for, to like a unique town.
When did you open the shop?
Well, the business started in 2020.
Okay.
During the beginning stages of the pandemic, which was crazy. Like we started piecing it together pretty much right as the pandemic hit. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And by piecing it together, I mean like going on Craigslist and looking for retail stores that are closing out, which luckily there's a lot of when COVID hit. So like all the display fixtures we have here were from like that time, getting Penske trucks and picking up like big fixtures and stuff.
Right.
And then we opened, I think, in July of 2020, 2021, maybe even actually. I think we didn't open the doors until 2021.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, it took that long to like put it together. Like I probably rented this store for like 9 months, somewhere between 6 and 9 months of like painting it. I mean, I didn't paint it, but like having the painter come in, we built the dressing room, and then just cleaning. There was a deli that was in here before us that didn't have the proper ventilation. They got closed down for, so it was like very greasy and grimy.
Whoa.
It was gross.
Bleach the fuck out of this bitch?
Yeah, just lots of cleaning, and then when it came time to put stuff up and put stuff in, it was just like, madness.
Right.
It's like a puzzle piece, blank canvas.
Right. For those of you who don't know, we're in Scranton right now.
Yeah. This is my store, Cosmik Gifts, Cosmik. And you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
A lot of cool stuff here.
Or you can come in person, which would be better.
I get something every time I come here, even if it's a sage stick.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm going to go say what's up to James.
Yep.
So you were born and raised here in Scranton?
In Dunmore, right outside, in a little borough right outside, probably like somewhere between like 14,000 and 16,000 people. You know what I mean? So it's like small.
So a big thing I want to talk to you about is recovery.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to add it in the title.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who have, had runs with hard drugs in the past.
Definitely.
People who are currently even using it. I have a really good friend strung out on fentanyl out in California, and it really sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Scary.
So when did that start for you?
Yeah, I started using like the pills and the harder drugs, like, we've talked before, but like, a little bit of alcohol, then weed, you know what I mean? A lot of weed, and then the pills. And
when did this start?
Like, I probably started smoking weed at 15.
Okay.
Definitely by 16, like definitely. So I'm guessing 15, probably like the summer in which I was 15, started doing that. The peer pressure just got too much, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then pretty quickly, like, experimented with other stuff. It's like pretty much we started smoking weed, all of us, and then there was like just pills around, you know what I mean? And they were like, like Darvocet, which is like a type of Percocet. It was like 500 milligrams. It's nothing. It's mostly Tylenol. So like we'd be snorting pills and like putting pills on joints and like definitely like really dumb stuff. Like we weren't like hooked on nothing per se, but like we were doing some like crazy shit. Like we were smoking Adderall, like the time release capsules, and like doing like lithium.
Wow.
Like we would do pretty much anything like Seroquel, like pretty much anything we get our hands on. We started like experimenting with.
This was as a teenager, and then into your 20s.
Well, the experimenting on like the weirder stuff, like the Seroquels and like the lower milligram opiates, like that kind of like. By the time I turned 18 and like was in college, it was like, okay, let's do the real stuff. You know what I mean? And then it was like Vicodins, perks,
You start shooting heroin?
I didn't start shooting heroin until I was 21.
Wow.
And before that, I tried heroin once.
In what form?
It was an accident per se. Like it was a bag. It was like a stamped wax bag. It had Tropicana stamped on it. We were told it was fentanyl by the guy. We were trading them, and we like worked at the mall, and he like was the cell phone guy, and
Yeah.
and yeah, he was like, "Oh, it's fentanyl." We're like, "All right, whatever, sure." My friends actually called me down like, "Yo, you gotta come down and try this shit," and I'm like, "All right, whatever, I'll come hang out."
Were you doing these substances with the intention of exploration of your consciousness?
Well, there was like a romanticism to the drug use because I was like idolizing, like I was like big into the Beatles, so like John Lennon, and like he was like a druggie. He was portrayed as a druggie. You know what I mean?
Psychedelic wise?
No, like he obviously psychedelics, but like, you know, he just like he, at least at the time, like in the certain things I was reading, like he was definitely portrayed as like somebody who experimented with drugs.
You were inspired by that? Like you wanted to do it?
Yeah, I don't want to like say John Lennon inspired me to do drugs, but like just like that type of, I don't know. It was just, I was young and I was dumb, and I was like, yeah, it was something attracted me. I kind of like wanted to, and it kind of fit my personality because I was like, I don't know if I have ADD or not. I've been told many times, you know, whatever that I do, but like the way my brain works, like you know, school failed me. You know what I mean? So like I just was like, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to go my own way,
right?
And drugs became my way.
Your teacher of life, almost. Like
yeah, without a doubt.
Parent,
without a doubt. I mean, I am lucky to be on the other side now, having learned the lessons I learned from my drug use. Yeah.
How long did it last? Your run?
About like 10 years, maybe 11 years. From like 16, like 16, I started using pills. So like I'll start it there because like I was smoking a little before then. But from like 16 to 26.
Okay, so it was a 10-year run.
Yeah, and it just kind of got worse and worse. I got kicked out of college.
How'd you do that?
I defaced the property with like graffiti and like this. It was like I think I did like a crucifix like upside down, and like there was like poetry and stuff, and like and then I signed it.
Were you rebellious against religion?
Yeah, well, me and my friends, we actually like we were just like, my good friends who would hang out at the time. We'd go to college, we start eating acid. We're like holy shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, we would do funny things to freak people out, like burn Bibles and stuff, like right in front of the dorm room entrance. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, it was more performative, I think, than it was intentional. As far as like, oh, we're like burning this, you know, like it was more shock value.
Okay.
But I think at that point I was kind of like anti-religious. You know, I was like definitely critical of the control system.
You were telling me you were born and raised Catholic, right?
Yeah, and like I didn't understand that at that point in time. You know, now I have a really much better understanding of, you know, what that was, but it was kind of just alien to me. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't really there was no spirituality to it.
You were taught about God, right, through the church.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They taught. Like I said, I went to catechism once a week. Like my brothers went to Catholic school, but my parents saved me from doing that. So, but I went to catechism, so they teach all this stuff. You know what I mean? We go through the Bible and discuss it, and then they do like funny little like tricks on us where they tell us. The one guy was like, "Oh, we're gonna drink vodka next week." And we all be like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, don't tell your parents." Like it was like this whole thing. He's like, "If you don't tell your parents, next week we'll get drunk." And me and my buddies were like, "Fuck yeah," you know what I mean? Like, so we go, none of us tell our parents, and we come back, and he's like, "Do you guys tell your parents?" We're like, "Nope." Right. You know what I mean? Let's drink. And he's like, "Oh, gotcha." It was a lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Weird kind of lesson, but
was that pissed. CCD?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was kind of weird. You know what I mean? That probably wouldn't fly now.
Right, I know. Everyone would go home, tell their parents, the teacher would be fired.
Yeah, because you know, it's risky territory.
So you were taught what God was. You didn't really necessarily have a conscious relationship with what you interpret as God now.
I mean, I had a good enough faith, I think, still, to a certain extent. I lost that, you know, in my later teens and early 20s, but yeah. So
okay, so you're doing the drugs during those 10 years.
Yeah.
You're making music. You're just doing reckless shit.
Actually, at that time, I wasn't really making music. Like, I could play a couple chords on guitar. Like, my dad got me a guitar, but, like, I was really, like, hard to, like, wrangle in as a kid. So, I played a couple chords, but that's all I had going for me was a couple chords. Like, I was mainly just doing drugs and going to music festivals. And, like, it wasn't until I got clean that music became more of a something I get into, because like I was able to like sing and play some songs, but like really it was just like just chords.
Talk about how you actually got clean finally and what led you to that point.
Many detoxes and like probably 4 or 5 trips in rehab, like full on 30-day stays, like four full stays and like 1 stay where I left.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, almost every time I went, I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of want to stop. You know what I mean? I wasn't around like my family, like, you know, from like 18 to 26. Like I just left. Like I'd come in, I'd be there for the holidays. Probably from like 18 to like 22, I kind of showed face. And then the next 4 years, like it was just like, I'll be here for the holidays. Otherwise, you probably don't even want to talk to me, because I'm not working. You know what I mean? No, I'm not. I have no goals. I'm just in this toxic relationship and I'm doing drugs. That's what, just so you know.
Was there any kind of like major thing inside of you that was fueling this behavior?
I mean, I kind of had this thing like where I just kind of want to destroy myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like school didn't really serve me,
Right.
like high school. And I just like I had other talents that like weren't, you know, served by the public school system.
Do you remember the day that you just gave it all up? And like how
I was
how did
in
that
rehab.
go?
I woke up in rehab. Like I was living with my parents after I split from that one relationship. And yeah, I just like, I was going to therapy and I relapsed. I ate a bunch of stuff. Like I ate a bunch of stuff out of the cabinet, the pill medicine cabinet at my parents' house. Like I don't even know what some of them were, but definitely benzos, some other things. And I kind of just blacked out. I remember my dad coming home and I was just like, you know, I was like crying, I think. You know what I mean? I was just like, you know, I need help. So they hooked me up, brought me back up to rehab. And that was just it. I was just like, all right, this is it. You know, it's either I get this done or I, you know, pretty much go and like overdose. You know what I mean? Like I had it in my head that I go out on a surfboard out in the ocean. Like this was an actual thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would just like get a hot shot and just do it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I wouldn't feel anything, and then nobody would have to find me. They'd just think I was just like wandering. But I remember I was in rehab, and I was like, I kind of just broke down in my room, got down on my knees. I prayed to like a whole long list of gods and deities. I was just like, whatever you are, you know, I need help. I was wrong. I kept saying that. I kept saying I was wrong. I was so wrong. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. Basically, like teach me. And you know, ever since that day, my life's gotten better pretty much every single day. I saw the damage I was doing to my parents. I saw like how distant it made the dynamics between me and my brothers. You know what I mean? And it was just kind of like, wow, I'm really fucking up, you know? Because I wasn't that person. But the drugs, you know, they changed me. They made me like a really shitty person. Yeah.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
So did you end up finding God in that? Like, what is God to you now? Like, do you still have a relationship with it?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, my spirituality is like my faith is everything now. I got out of rehab, started doing AA, and I was involved with AA since I was 18, because I'd be going to rehab, getting pushed into the meetings afterwards, relapsing, rinse, repeat, and but this time I was like, you know, I was willing, so I went and I did all the corny stuff. Like, and I say it's corny because it really feels corny. You know what I mean? Especially when you're coming like raw off the streets.
What is it? What's the corny stuff?
AA is all about like, you have these people who like get recovery. You know what I mean? And you go and like you listen to people, but you have to get a sponsor. Sponsor is somebody who like helps you get through the 12 steps. Like they'll take you through the 12 steps. The 12 steps is the book, the inspirational, you know, rules that are needed to be followed in order to recover from alcoholism in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. So yeah, like I went and like one of the things that was corny that I'll say, like you'll go and like you'll say you'll have to stand up and be like, yeah, I'm 5 days sober. And they'll be like, all right, Leo Vergnetti, shout out to Leo V. He's like a big AA guy in the area.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Jimmy's like, take everybody's number down. So everybody writes their number down on a piece of paper. And he's like, call all these numbers. Introduce yourself, talk to them. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like 60 numbers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be so awkward. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, you're feeling really raw, really like fucked up.
It's like cold calling in real estate or something.
Yeah, and you're trying to like you're fresh off drugs, you know what I mean? Like you don't feel good about yourself, the world, you know what I mean? Like or yourself really. It was a struggle, like a real hardcore struggle every day for like a solid, year. And but it got easier over time. But like so I sat down and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make these calls. And nothing like came from that, any of the calls. Like most people didn't answer. The people that did answer were really quick. Right. It was kind of just like, okay, nice to see you. I'll see you, bud. And by the end of it, like I didn't get really anything out of the calls. But I think what it showed me is like, in looking back on it, like it's all about doing what you're. It's kind of like doing what you're told, even if you think otherwise. Just listen to the people who are above you in this hierarchy of recovery. You know what I mean? And like just follow them. Mm. Like no matter how stupid it sounds, like just do it. Take direction. Okay. It's all about taking direction. So I felt like that was a big step for me, as small as that is. Yeah. Like it was still a signifier that it's like, okay, I can do this. Like I'm willing to change. Like I never would have done that in my like anti, buck the system, like total mentality days, So little stuff like that. And then I went through the books. I went through the book and I went through the 12 steps with a guy named Big Book Bruce, Bruce Bicknell. He's a legend.
Shout out Bruce.
May he rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago. But he was a legendary guy. I mean, he was an architect and like, it was meant to be. It was, I look at it as it was a divine experience. It really was because the guy, he looked like Santa Claus. He actually like did like the mall Santa Claus bit.
Did he really?
Yeah, like all over.
That's crazy.
So he had a really interesting life. And he helped save mine. And I went to his house down at the Hotel German, or his apartment. And we'd sit there and it was like, it was very like movie-like. You know what I mean? It really was. Like it felt special. Because it's all about, it like the 12 steps, like Bill Wilson, like he was like very inspired by, obviously religion, but like the Eastern traditions and like, so it's like it really is a spiritual journey when you get into it, because it's like taking accountability for yourself, and like when you really take accountability for yourself, it's a really spiritual action.
You've been doing it ever since. How old do you know?
34.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty accountable for myself and my actions. I mean, like, it as much as I can be. I mean, I'm obviously nowhere close to perfect, but yeah, it's like you admit you have a problem, and like you have to have the higher power. You have to believe in a higher power. And my spirituality was really starting to blossom then. It didn't really my spirituality didn't really kind of like concretize until I was in jail. But I went to jail after I got into recovery. Yeah, going through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. Like if you're watching this and you have a drug problem, like go to AA. It really is like a really great program, and I don't go to it anymore. I would like to. It's a kind of on my goal list is to get back into doing it.
You've embodied it though, yeah?
Yeah, well, like it's I took those steps and I made them part of my life. You know what I mean? And like I fall short, but like it created a foundation for me that when I fall short, I have that foundation still that I can pick myself back up from. Like I built that foundation. Like before that, I didn't have a foundation. It was like all the holes that I dug for myself. You know what I mean? Now there's a foundation over that like no matter what, like I hit that and it's like, okay, you know what to do.
Indeed. So yeah, man, it's good. You're doing good. Whenever I talk to you about religion or spirituality or politics, you have a lot of knowledge on those topics. Yeah,
I'm kind of obsessed with the political stuff. Politics sucks. To quote somebody who I actually disagree with, like all their politics, he's a YouTube commentator, I won't even say his name, but he has a t-shirt that says politics suck, but it's really, really important. You know what I mean? It's true. Like, it does suck. You know what I mean? It sucks to talk about. It's stupid.
Are they necessary for humanity?
Yeah, because like politics is like kind of like economics, where like economics is kind of like the science of humans in motion, humans interacting. Politics is also a similar science like that. Like if you really, get into it.
What is the most dangerous form of politics? In
really, any type. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I pretty much either side. Like they have the political compass. I'm sure you're familiar with the political compass.
I don't know shit about politics, dude. Well, what do you consider yourself?
I don't really consider myself. If you had to, for the past 10 years, every time I've taken the political compass test, it's been center left, center right. Okay. Like, I mean, like center, like it's like barely leaning like one way or the other. And like sometimes that changes on like just like minor, it's changed little on like things. A couple things, like just minor economic policies or like, ideas behind whatever, healthcare, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm like, the libertarian in the sense of like, if it doesn't infringe on other people, everyone's consenting, then, you're good to go.
Do you feel like the values of America is changing in a political sense? Like, are we at...
Definitely.
Are we at some kind of crossroads?
Yeah, man, definitely. I mean, definitely. Like, it's like you have... It's tribalism. Was that Buffalo Springfield song? Battle lines being drawn. Everybody's right and everybody's wrong. It's very much so what it is. They're battle lines. If you cross them, we're fighting. Not even if you get close to crossing it. You cross this line, well, you're just like a brain-dead idiot communist. Or if you cross this line, oh, well, you're a fascist Nazi. It's very polarized. You know what I mean? There's like not a lot of nuance. And they've done a good job of programming people into that.
And you look at our president now, and it's like, is he optimal? Like, is he functionable?
No.
No.
Like, I mean, it's
the guy's
a joke.
A meme, kind of.
I mean, they all are. You know what I mean? Trump was a meme. Obama, like
George Bush.
It's really unfortunate that we give so much
power to these people.
That we even think that
are we giving these people the power that they have?
Yeah, we get what we let. I mean, we allow them to do these things, and we have our creature comforts that make it easier for us to turn off. People aren't paying attention. Like people don't know like stuff that's happening. Like they don't pay attention to war crimes and stuff. Like people don't look into that stuff. Like a lot of people do. Like I shouldn't say that. There's millions of people in America who do. I would hope at least hundreds of thousands. You know what I mean? That really that stay on it. You know what I mean? No, like definitely million, because there's 300 some million people in America.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's millions of people in America who are definitely on that tip. You know what I mean? Where they're just like. They're paying attention to all the bullshit, all the corruption, the scandals, different countries and stuff. But like, most people don't pay attention to that. Most people don't want to. Like, I don't want to. I hate it.
But it's in our face now.
Yeah, and like I want to stay educated and like stay informed. It's try to find that fine line because like there's points where like it has affected my mental health even. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like, so I knew about Epstein for a while, and then when he got arrested. I like lost my mind because I was just like, no, like there was so much lies around like him going away the way he did. Like it was like there was so much smoke and mirrors, man. Like there's so much propaganda now, which is like that's like the really freaky thing is like seeing propaganda, like having a good eye for it. Like I have a really good eye for it. I also like am educated on certain things, so when I see something that goes against like the actual truth of things. And it's like on national television.
Right.
You're just like, wow.
I didn't watch Epstein, but from what I've heard,
I'm the Netflix documentary?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it either because it's propaganda piece.
Okay.
And I knew it from the start because it was made with James Patterson.
He had an island that he performed like pedophilia and like had like children massage him, and there's a bunch of other people that knew about the island that went to the island.
Oh yeah,
Bill and then Clinton. And then he was locked away, and he was gonna like rat on those other people, and then
that's what Ghislaine Maxwell says. She
just
did an interview.
Killed him. Did the Clintons kill him? Do you think? That's what I heard.
I mean, they have a body count that follows them. Like, there's a lot. They actually have the Clinton body count. It's like a conspiracy theory.
The Skull and Bones.
No. It's like they have like a long list of people who've died mysteriously. Like around surrounding certain
Right.
scandals and stuff like that. I forget the dude's name. He was a White House aide,
Hmm.
and they found him hung with a shotgun blast to the face.
That's crazy. They all like die the
I
same
forget his
way,
name, but like
too,
you could look into that. Just type in like Clinton aide suicide,
right?
1990s, and you'll see it. And you can, so like it, and that's what people don't understand. Like, there's so much corruption around politics. It's like, you don't think these people are killing motherfuckers?
Right.
Because like they definitely are. Like, it's cutthroat. Like, they're like the real mob. Like, that's
Right.
like the mafia. Like, and like all respect to the mob, because like I understand, like even like these big cartel people, like they're kind of just like, listen, I'm the motherfucker. You guys aren't. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm a man. Like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, and they take care of people, whatever. The real mob, the real cartel is the powers that be on the official level. Like, they're the ones who run shit. Like, you get grandfathered in, it's like, it's game over. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, they use the mob as their kind of stealth arm on the streets too. Like, you can get into the intelligence agencies' connections to the organized crime syndicates and stuff too.
Could you join this mob? Could anybody join this mob?
No, I mean, like, you could if you're in the position in which, like, I don't know, like, if I had to sit down and think of ways in which that could happen to somebody, you'd have to be in the right place at the right time and have the right access and the right benefits to bring to the table to really get involved with people like that, and it's like, it's very complex because it's loose, it's played loose, but it's also really tight too, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all compartmentalized, you know what I mean? It's like, not everybody really knows what's happening.
Are they evil, these people?
I mean, I would say some of these people are evil, you know what I mean? Like, they're definitely evil people, and so yeah, like, but like, that was like kind of tied into my recovery. Like, that was a part of the reason why I used drugs too, because I found all that stuff so frightening, because it is evil. Like, you look into this stuff and you're like, wow, that's fucking evil. Like, that's frightening. And I didn't have a relationship with God at this point, so that's why I was kind of doing drugs, because I had like no weapon, I had no defense against it. It was kind of just like, I learned about all this corruption in the world, and I was like, well, fuck, like, I don't actually have a concept of like pure good, God, you know what I mean? But I see pure evil, and that's freaking me out, because I don't have the tools to like combat that and work on myself to like take care of myself, because it's too frightening. And through the 12 steps Alcoholics Anonymous and getting into religion and spirituality again, I was able to understand those concepts more, and now I have a faith in the good. The evil doesn't scare me anymore. It angers me now, that, like, but it doesn't scare me as much.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But that stuff made me crazy for a while.
Why do you think there's some people that don't, when you talk about this kind of stuff with them, they either don't believe it, they don't want to listen to it, and likewise with religion, I feel like, as well.
Yeah.
Like corruption of religion, because think about like the Catholic Church. You hear about so many instances of pedophilia happening, like with priests and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's it's a spiritual problem. You know what I mean? That we're producing a society that's embracing that so much. You know what I mean?
What do you mean a spiritual problem?
Well, because like, I don't know.
You mean like it's an internal spiritual problem within the minds of the people that are calling the shots?
I guess it's a byproduct of us not giving a fuck enough. You know what I mean? Because if people really gave a fuck, they would pay more attention, and they would hold these people more accountable in ways that they're not doing. Not saying that would solve everything, but it would really put a pump the brakes on what they're doing, because it's like, you get into the World Economic Forum, all the stuff that's going on right now, like with the globalist type people who they don't have any what's the word? They don't have any loyalty to any nation. Like, they don't. Like, these are really rich people, like, who just beyond our imagination, their wealth, and they don't have loyalty to Portugal, to America, to Zaire, to China. They don't have that a pride in a nation of a people that they could build with, they don't look. We're just numbers. We're just peasants to them. You know what I mean? The whole world is, because they look at it in like a global concept.
It's very true.
Because those borders, you look at a map, like those borders aren't there. You know what I mean? It is one, just there's no actual borders. Yeah, there's no actual borders, and they know this, and because they see it. Like most people are stuck, and they see the world, but it's all these borders, and it's like separated. But really, it's just big land. It's one big ball. You know what I mean? It's like, or if you're flat earther, it's one flat.
Yeah,
thing,
I was gonna say,
which I'm not.
I'm not a flat earther either. I don't fucking understand it. Like, it don't make sense to me.
I can see how people could fall into it. You know, just because there's. But it is pretty silly, I think.
Because I feel like people want to believe in something other than what they've been taught about something, so they hop on the bandwagon of believing such a thing, and they want to feel trapped, that they're trapped in a dome.
Well, yeah, I think it's a psyop too. Even, you know what I mean? Like, and a psyop is like a psychological operation, basically made by intelligence organizations. Like, you know, flat Earth is like a psyop to me. Like, even though it's been around for a while, like, but these things get popular because I think intelligence agencies and like they look at things and are like, what could we do to like make the person who's speaking truth about certain conspiracies? What can we do to really discredit them? Well, the best thing you could do is to make them also believe the Earth is flat.
I see what you're saying.
Or the best thing you could do is to make them think Trump is a time traveling person who's going to save the world from the cabal of human traffickers, which is really like. They did a really good job with QAnon because they like put it out there so hardcore because they knew that the general, like the top of the seed of it was, what's the seed of QAnon? The seed of QAnon is that there's child traffickers. Now, if you like watch CNN, if they talk about QAnon on CNN, they make it a point to say it's a theory that believes that the Democrats eat babies or something along those lines. Like they'll always like. But that's not really the truth. Like there's really crazy QAnon people, but like the general idea behind QAnon is that the governments across the world are running these child trafficking rings. You know what I mean?
So what, they mix some truth in,
and
with
they
it?
mix it in with that, and then it becomes completely discredited. So now, like, even if you're going to try to have a serious conversation, people are going to be like, I don't even want to talk about that because that Trumper guy was talking about it.
Oh, okay, that makes so much fucking sense, dude.
Yeah, it's like, you know, controlled opposition too. Like, it's astroturfing. It's like they're going to set the playing field. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to talk about this, well, you're going to have to talk about it now on this paradigm. Like, this is this playing field in which we're going to allow you to talk about that. And we set it up. So, like, we're going to win. It's going to benefit us. And it led everybody up to QAnon. The climax of that was January 6th. And that itself was like, the whole thing was a setup. Like, you see it happening, and you're just like, if you look at January 6th, like, they had all those people coming there that day, and they had like next to no security at the Capitol building. They had to have, like, they knew what was happening. And then, like, that one guy, Ray Epps, it's like, if you look, there's video footage of this guy with the Trump hat, and he's like, you know what we got to do? We got to go into the Capitol. He's like telling people this. There's even a video where he's trying to announce it to everybody. Everyone starts yelling "Fed." They're like, "Fed, Fed," because they knew he was like they knew he was an intelligence agent.
Wow.
And so now the first person to, and January 6th is such a polarizing like topic because some people are like really crazy about it. Like, they think it was like 9/11 or something. You know what I mean?
Like staged or something?
No, they think it was like 9/11 in the sense of like it was the most tragic thing that's happened to this country and like, you know, whatever. And it's like, it was tragic, not in ways that you're thinking though, because it's like really what's tragic about it is that it was a con job by our government to further embolden the hatred and division between people. Like, they set these stupid people up. I hate to use the word stupid, but they set these people, the ignorant people up, like people who are like really hardcore QAnon. They're ignorant to certain things, you know what I mean? Obviously. And like, they work them up through political propaganda and just like, and work them up into a frenzy, and they're at the Capitol now. Now they have agent provocateurs who are like, when you see the first breach on January 6th, there's like 3 or 4 security guards, which is ridiculous for like the day in that which Donald Trump was giving a speech to hundreds of thousands of his followers. Like, they had like just a couple security guards at the Capitol building, and like they had intel that people were going to gather there. So like, they wanted it to happen. If it wasn't like completely controlled by them, like, they allowed it. They wanted that to happen. And they definitely have provocateurs, because you see Ray Epps whisper into the dude's ear, and that the second he's done whispering into his ear, the dude charges at the fucking gate. and knocks it over. And that's the first breach. And the government refuses to bring Ray Epps to question. He was like on the FBI most wanted list when that happened, January 6th. Then they took him off, and they won't answer any questions about him.
That's crazy.
And it's the same thing. Like when you see these, when they get questioned on it, the few times they've been questioned on it, they're just like, oh, we're not at liberty to say. Because the last one, like, is Ray Epps being employed by, any intelligence agency? They're like, oh,
right.
We're not at liberty to say. It's like, oh, I know. This has been going on for decades. You know what I mean? Like, well, centuries, really. Like World War I, World War II. But like, you get into like Vietnam War, for example. What got us into Vietnam, for the most part, basically the whole reason we got into Vietnam was because of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag. They lied and said that a military ship was sunk off the coast of Vietnam or wherever it was. And it never happened. But it got people in America worked up enough that they're like, yeah, send it. You know what I mean? We're good to go.
Right. I even heard some conspiracies about World War II, that the Japanese actually didn't bomb Hawaii. This is what I
don't
heard.
know whether they bombed it or not. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they did. But they knew about that, and that's like more than confirmed. You know what I mean? Like, so like there's all these like.
What do you mean? Like America knew about it?
Yeah, we knew about it. Like, they want these things to happen because like the war machine, and Dwight D. Eisenhower, like he explicitly warned people about this in his farewell speech, his final speech as president. Like he warned of the military-industrial complex. Like these are, and it's like it's one way or the other. Like it could be like fantastically evil, like. People like spiritually evil people, like demonic type people, like satanic type forces. You know what I mean? Like if you want to subscribe to that mentality, you know what I mean? Then that's what it is. And at best, it's just like absolutely psychotic people who are really power hungry. You know what I mean? Either way, it sucks. Like if you're very spiritual, then it's like the satanic thing, which I understand. If you're not, and you're more like scientific or like agnostic or atheist, like then it's just really evil, fucking fucked up people who are power hungry and. Like they've been running game for the past 100 years, the military-industrial complex, like with Standard Oil and like, General Dynamics, all these big contractors, and it's like what for? Why wouldn't they want the whole thing,
right?
The whole pie. You know what I mean?
What would the world look like without these people in power? Like if we were to come together as a humanity, as a people.
Well, it would look a lot better.
Without these 1%ers.
But I don't think we can do that until we work through this. You know what I mean?
Work through what?
These people, like,
no.
We allowed, like, some certain people have allowed it to happen. Like, I feel like some people sense it in their day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. They might sense that, like, dread, that fear that, like, this is all, like, a con job and it's, like, really messed up and screwed up. But they don't want to, like, think about that. You know what I mean? Like, so they kind of just, like, brush it off and, like, they play their game. Or they plug into whatever distraction, and then some people really just don't know. You know what I mean? But like, I think we as a people need to like face this. You know what I mean? Because if we don't face it, it will destroy us. You know what I mean?
How do we face it with each other? Do we openly talk about it? And how could we openly talk about it when everybody is angry at each other? It seems like nobody wants to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like. All we could do is work on ourselves. Like I've come to that conclusion. It's like the only thing I could do is work on myself. Like if I see the man that I want to be, the man that I am and the man that I want to continue to be, the person I want to be. If I see that and I work towards it and I achieve it, you know what I mean? Then hopefully that victory can bear witness to other people. You know what I mean? And that's all you could do. Like if you can't talk to, let's say you're somebody, you got a Ukraine flag in your window and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish they had peace over there. You know what I mean? And you look next door and he's got a Trump flag and you're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Then you're Russia in that scenario now. And he's Ukraine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're literally just going to completely shut him down and be like, okay, this person's a Trumper. Like, they're a piece of shit, basically. I can't believe they'd support him. You know what I mean? Which, like, to me, like, I look at Trump, Biden, and I get a lot of shit for this, you know what I mean? But I look at them as the same type of person, you know what I mean? And because of that, I look at I'm not going to look at somebody who supports either of them like they're a bad person. Like I know it's a lot more complex than that. Like they they have their values and principles, and it aligns more with that tribe. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to judge them for that. You know what I mean? But like when people judge each other for having the Biden flag or the Trump flag, the red flag or the blue flag, it's like, you know, that's why we have war in the world. That's why we have hatred, because you can't even, if you can't love your neighbor, then how are you going to expect other people to do the same?
That's a good point, man. Absolutely great point. You know, because I know people who love Trump and I know people who love Biden, but I try to keep the peace with everybody.
Yeah.
Because it starts from within us. I really think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
You know,
that's all we could do.
And now I've had an incident in my life recently. I shared it with you. Shared it with a couple of people, but somebody in my life is now involved with a hardcore Christian.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with this person, and they told me I was going to hell because I do yoga.
Nice.
Yeah, right. So basically, I'm going to hell, James.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't understand the concept because I've read the gospel many times.
Man, going to hell for yoga is probably like going to rehab for weed. Like, if you're like in hell and they're like, "What are you here for?" I'd be like, "Yoga." Like,
yeah. Like, oh, the devil's gonna have a talk with you, boy.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but what was the question?
I just want to know, what is the framework of these people, like the framework of their thinking, the people who, you know, call themselves Christians and, you know, followers of Christ, believers, you know, but criticize someone like me who believes in God, the word God, but I believe it to be an all-knowing, all-loving source of intelligence and consciousness that we all come from. And we're here to create our own reality within that. I think we're loved either way. If I'm going to do yoga, it's going to be to stretch my body, not to worship deities, as this guy was telling me.
It's very silly.
So what is causing this thinking? Like, why are they saying this? And, you know, like, am I going to hell? Am I fucked up here? Am I missing something here? Because, like, I'll even question myself sometimes. I'll be like, is my thinking flawed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cause
your thinking probably is flawed, just like all of ours is. But like, you're not. It's tough when you have like really religious types. You know what I mean? And I've been exposed to that a lot in my life, and even in some like personal like relationships. Like, take for example like the yoga thing. Like, I think I said this before. Like, really like. Yoga is great and everything, like, and if you're just doing yoga, like, you're really just stretching, like, you're not like if you're doing it like contemplatively, that's great, but then it's like it's just like a basic mind exercise. Then, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing deep breathing, you know what I mean? Like, you want to attach all this stuff to it. It's like, even at the end of the day, like, if you're an actual atheist, let's say you're an atheist, it's like, it doesn't matter what that person believes, they're just stretching their body,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like, now he's a Christian, so it's like, okay, it's just literally, it's calisthenics basically. It's just like, you're just literally stretching, you know what I mean? Like, you could attach all this stuff to it, but the Christians in America are pretty wild, you know?
It's just this feeling I get upon talking to them. I don't feel loved or accepted or, you know what I mean, embraced by them, even when I'm sharing my own perception of reality. Because, like, I'm trying to hear them, too.
Yeah. I think it's the heaven and hell thing, like, being very concrete to them, like, you know, like, they actually believe in a particular heaven and a particular hell, you know what I mean? And, like, I think that really changes things psychologically, but, like, I don't know if I really know the answer, but I do know that, like, when you get into those ideologies and you let them consume you completely, like, you just become, like, it's a cult, you know what I mean? So, like, anything that challenges that cult, and it's a culture, you know what I mean? Anything that challenges that or threatens that or is shown to you to be a threat to that, you know, you're going to recoil from, like, a hot flame, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, yeah,
absolutely,
it's another type of tribalism.
Yeah, it's like a certain narrative of thinking of what God is, like, that we're separate from God. You know, because this guy was telling me, like, he thinks we're all separate from God. And I that don't feel right in my heart. Like,
yeah, I mean,
but we live in a separated reality. Like, you know, we perceive space and distance in between each other and the forms of life in our perception.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think that the creator that's like manifesting this moment for us to even fucking exist is separate from it. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, it'd be wild if it was.
I know, dude.
I mean, who knows? You know, you can get into so much. It goes so deep now, like because, you know, now you have like the simulation theories now and all these things, you know, and they're like really heady concepts, but I think it's all the same thing. You know, even when I hear like the simulation stuff, I'm like, it sounds like it's still the epic creation story like that. You look at our culture, like it's a really broken culture. Like it's very, I call it lazy atheism, where like a lot of people are kind of just like, they don't think about it. You know what I mean? If they do think about it, they're kind of like scientific dogmatists now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where they kind of, and you saw that a lot with COVID, where like, you know, people worshipped at the altar of scientism. You know what I mean? Not actual science, but like this concept of science. You know what I mean? Which has like a lot of like falsities in it, because like one, like a lot of people view the world now like as if we have it figured out through science, science, and we're only just filling in the like the pieces. Like we're just like kind of like figuring out just like the little odds and ends. You know what I mean? But like generally like science has like figured it out. You know what I mean? And like that's like not true. You know, like when you talk to people about certain things, like, you know, even COVID, like, you know, with the jabs and stuff, it was like, you know, oh, it's case closed. You know what I mean? Like science says so.
Yeah.
And it's like,
right.
Those phrases made no sense. Like when that was coming around, like those propaganda phrases, like science is real. Like people would say it all the time. Like I always see posts like, you know, science is real. It's like people like just trust too much in these authority figures. Like I saw some guy, his name is Zachary Levi. He's an actor. I just saw this, like it was blowing up on Twitter or Google. It was like the guy who played that Shazam character in the superhero movie. You remember?
No,
it just came out a couple years ago. Looked kind of corny. His name is Zachary Levi though, and like he retweeted a tweet that said, "Do you think Pfizer is a danger to humanity?" And he retweeted and said, "Hardcore agree." People lost their mind, like liberal types. Comment section is filled with people like, "I was excited for your movie, but not now," you know, blah 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 blah. And these are like leftist types who like 10 years ago were at the doorstep of Wall Street. Okay, like Occupy Wall Street, like we were on the fucking doorstep of Wall Street. Like knock knock knock. Fuck you guys, like we know what you're up to, you know what I mean? Like this has to stop, you know what I mean? This aggression will not stand, man. And Wall Street was like, shit. What do we do? Like the jig is kind of up. Like I don't know if you remember Occupy Wall Street, but it was crazy. Like there was like months long you know, occupation in that whole district, you know? And now 10 years later, those same people are championing pharmaceutical giants, these massive Wall Street companies. Like these are massive companies that like profit off of death. You know what I mean? Like they really do. Like, and death and sickness, you know? Because like they don't, like they make a lot of things, they can make a lot of things that can help people, but they're not the originators of those things. You know what I mean? They just have the monopoly on it now because of the way that they structured the drug distribution and manufacturing system. You know what I mean? So like they're not even the actual people who created these healing things. You know what I mean? Those are different scientists and different people. Thousands of them. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
So it's like they piggyback off of these things and then they sell poison.
I think we lost
it again.
Yeah. No, but it's a recent thing. I think we got a lot.